events here in Vancouver for going on 30 years. Started with the Molson Indy Vancouver, kind of fell in love with all events, and from there, chased a race over to Hawaii, came back, got out of automotive, and I started my own event. And it was, people may be familiar, it's the design show here in Vancouver. It's now called IDS Vancouver. So I started that from scratch. So first year events are nothing new to me. Was able to build that up. And actually, as I was building that event, I partnered with the Globe Foundation of Canada on an event called EPIC, the Sustainable Living Expo. And EPIC stood for Ethical, Progressive, Intelligent Consumer. That was back in 2010. It was way before its time. The availability of product was way down here. Costs were up here. It just hadn't reached the tipping point that's required for something like that. But really interesting and taught me a lot. I ended up selling the design show, working there. I went out on my own, did another event at the PNE Fairgrounds. 14 acres, 700 cars on site, 144 through an auction. And while I was doing that, I was exhibiting at the auto show. And I realized that the auto show was terrible at the time. And I got to experience it from the inside out. A year and a half later, I was running said auto show and was able to take it in a number of different and unique directions. And did that for over a course of 7 years, a little pandemic in the way, things like that. But in 2018, we actually set a Canadian record, and we did 2,867, I believe it was, EV test drives over a 5-day period. And it was amazing. We had great support regionally through Plug-in BC, it was everyone. It was an all hands on deck approach. And, just proved how far ahead our region is in the world, and really opened the eyes to the manufacturers. Obviously canceled the 100th anniversary event 2 weeks out from move-in. Devastating. We had a huge EV component that was being built, and the car world has changed since. I resigned from the auto show in early 22. I just didn't like the direction of a number of things. Nothing against them or what they're doing, but it wasn't for me anymore. And it was really interesting. The folks at the convention center said, "Have you heard of these guys?" And I had, but I hadn't reached out. And so this was Fully Charged. And I sent one email. We spoke once, and we were like, "This is a perfect fit." And since I've been on and having some fun with these guys. So Fully Charged, 2010, a gentleman by the name of Robert Llewellyn started the channel. He was transitioning out of TV, which basically means you don't have a job anymore. And he went and he was in shows Red Dwarf and their version of Junkyard Wars and a whole bunch of different things on automotive. He went to the folks at Top Gear and said, "We've got to do something on electrification and electric vehicles." And they said, "Nah, it's not really, what we see as the future for us." And he said, "Fine, bugger off. I'm doing it myself." And he started this fledgling channel, pirate kind of video recording. And fast forward to today, 1 million subscribers. They did 4.2 million views in September of 22 alone. It turned into a media powerhouse. They've got multiple channels now, including the Everything Electric channel. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a sec. But social podcasts, all sorts of different things. So a little clean energy and tech powerhouse. In 2017, Robert's partner, Dan Caesar, said, "We've got something here, we've got to take it live." And they held the first event in Silverstone over in the UK to great fanfare and tremendous support from the industry. Able to grow during the pandemic, make plans and start to implement those. And as Glenn mentioned, in this year, we're going to have 6 shows internationally. And those shows are 2 in the UK, 1 in Europe and Norway, 1 in Australia, San Diego, and us here in Vancouver. And people say, "Why Vancouver?" And it's a pretty easy answer for me, and it's BC Hydro. And they actually went out and sought Fully Charged and said, "Hey, we'd be a great opportunity here in this market." And some research was done, and some deals were signed. And hey, here we are in the greenest convention center in North America. So pretty exciting. The event itself is, they call it a festival of electrification over in the UK. I don't like that term because we're in a building. We're not as outside and that type of an event to be called a festival. But I was introduced at one point as this will be the center of the world for electrification in Canada in 2023. You got to unpack it a bit. but I really like it because it really talks about the overarching umbrella of everything electric and electrifying everything. And hashtag that the event uses is stop burning stuff. So it's all about not burning for your energy and finding solutions, whether it's wind, solar, battery, whatever the case may be, to stop burning. The show itself, we take the Convention Center West. We're outdoor, level 1, and 90,000 square feet down in the X halls. We have upstairs, we have a low-speed vehicle test drive. We're doing a one-day commercial vehicle test drive. We have our micro machine test tracks. We have our e-bike test tracks, all taking place right out on the plaza. I have Volvo and a pop-out display out on the plaza. We have TransLink with their history of transportation and their electric trolley out there, doing a whole bunch of different things. So you're going to see activity everywhere you go throughout the site. Come into the building, go into the ballrooms. Hydro is doing a big installation as you walk through. That's all about the sensory and about how water turns into what you plug into the wall to get. So all about our great clean source of power. Come in through the ballrooms, beautiful views to the North Shore Mountains and the water. You can have a couple manufacturer displays upstairs, but upstairs is much more of the chargers, the solar, the all sorts of that stuff. We have our home energy advice team there that's sponsored by Van City, and you can come and meet one-on-one with an expert and talk about future-proofing your home, taking advantage of government rebates, planning for solar, how you can, now that you've got your EV, or which is usually the case, then, hey, how can I add in on the solar panels? How can I add on a battery system? How can I? So it's talk a lot about that, and that's one-on-one time you can book, and it's for businesses and homes and consumers. Throughout the rest, again, we have our zero carbon kitchen, which we're transitioning a little bit right now, but again, just more lifestyle that's involved with everything that's going on. We have our huge Giga Theater, and we have 2 theaters on site, and they're active with almost 50 panel presentations over the course of the event. And I've been to 2 events now, both San Diego and Farnborough over in the UK. I cannot believe the content that comes out of these. They're fantastic. The questions are amazing, and they're always packed. It's a huge thought leadership and that positioning, and really our experience around those 6 regions. Each region really delivers quite a different and unique perspective to electrification, and that kind of comes full circle through the hosts and we have 6 of our great channel hosts coming out to Vancouver for the show, including Robert, Dan, Imogen, Jack, a whole bunch of fun people. You go through down, we are on our next level. We're looking at last mile solutions for EV deliveries. We've partnered with an e-cargo bike conference. So that's going to be taking place on Saturday at the show. So all manner of e-cargo bikes, e-bikes. We talked about micro. So lots of fun there, and something that kind of opens doors up to a new opportunity for us. Down the big escalators, down into the halls. And this is where you're going to find the mainstay of the commercial vehicle OEMs. So we have our commercial vendors, so commercial vehicle zone. So you're going to have everything from, geez, the folks up north, Edison doing things right, to BYD. Looks like they're bringing up a semi. So we're really excited about that. We may even have the e-Cascadia. So we're getting some traction on that, and so we're quite excited. But that's going to be everything from like Bright Drop and Canoe right up, and the different solutions for that commercial side. Then the OEM EV side, whether it's Hyundai, BMW, a whole bunch of great companies, and we're still working. We're working the phones. We're working real hard. The world of OEMs has kind of changed during this pandemic as the shift to electrification has happened. But with that change came a big shift in how and what events they do and why and how. And so we're making it as attractive as we can. So down there, beyond the kind of that commercial zone, the other stage that's downstairs, past the OEMs, we actually have a brand new way of doing the EV test drives. And we have space for about 40 vehicles, 45, I think, and we're going to fill all of them. So we'll have a whole bunch of test drives available, but it's right inside the building. So each vehicle has its own stall. It's lined up north to south on the far west side of the building. And there's a double roadway that goes out a set of exit doors onto Lower Waterfront Road. And then you can go and do your test drive, come back into the building, and BC Hydro is even providing live charges. You could jump out and experience plugging right in. So we're not worried about weather. We're under the big lights. This is something new kind of sexy and interesting that we're going to be able to bring as an introduction. It was really interesting to get all the approvals and everything for that, but it's something that's come together really well. So you know, we're super excited with the way the community has embraced us. We're very excited. Anyone that, you know, knows British Columbia knows this is, if the time hasn't passed, this is now the right time in the right market for this event, for an event of this type. And we're seeing it blow up in all sorts of different ways. So whether it's our, you know, stronger focus on the B2B side on the Friday, or whether it's just the level of engagement for the different groups that when we speak to it, new opportunities open every single day. And if I could clone myself, I would, so that we can put them all into place. But we're going to start off really strong in 2023 here and have a great future. We're really looking forward to this show. We appreciate the great support we have received to date, and know it'll continue, and look forward to hosting some of you in some capacity, working with you in some capacity, and having some fun, if not, and taking some of the experiences and events at the show. And let's take this to a new level for electrification in British Columbia and Canada, and continue the momentum that many of you have put years and years and years into building, and we're so appreciative of that, and want to respect and reflect that commitment that you've all made, and your energies. So that's me. That's the show. Tons that I leave out, of course, because there's just so much to talk about. But any questions, happy to answer them. And we're working hard to make it the best event it can be for Vancouver, for British Columbia and Canada.